They didn't think anyone would want it. And they were just like, oh, it's just a fun little random thing to stick in the back of a shop.
Yeah.
Turns out it's got lots of good reprints in it.
Yeah.
This fun little random thing. What should we put into this thing, Dave? Oh, no, Crate Hoof Behemoth. Nobody wants that, right? No, it's fine. Don't worry. Newbies will play it. It's fine.
What are you saying?
Only Timmy's play it.
I was too busy in Vintage Pod.
Should we put a Legacy staple in it? Yeah, nobody plays Legacy Elves. It's fine.
I can't remember what, like, there are some absolute, complete and total, like, hits in that set. We should probably be talking about that later.
There's that new mono black mini guy who discards.
Oh, Tiny Bones.
Tiny Bones, that's his name. Everyone is going crazy for Tiny Bones on EDH Shrek.
Oh, the one that's hitting me is the blue one, which doubles mills. That is currently $40.
Christ, really?
Yeah, we'll talk about this. Should we get started?
That's good.
I was about to say, have we not already started?
Apparently no, because I haven't got really anything to say. But hi, this is Chillin and Millin. This entire podcast is going to start with us having a random conversation about Jumpstart for no apparent reason, because at the end of the day, I can't be bothered to come up with a whole spiel about what we've been doing this week, despite the fact I have created something which we'll get to later. But yeah, this is Chillin and Millin. This is a Magic-based podcast hosted by 3 people who are still here. Hi. So anyway, yeah, no, the blue wizard, that mills people. I'm Hugh, by the way. That doubles mill. He's like $40.
Jeez.
Like, that makes sense though, right? Because people love mill. I don't get it personally, but people do actually love mill, and people making mill working commander it's like the pipe dream, right?
It's the same reason why Persistent Petitioners has like gone up by 6 times its price, because that guy is an advisor, so you can tap hit. So people have basically said that the commander deck for Persistent Petitioners is now just him as your commander, all the Persistent Petitioners, and you just go.
Wait, has Persistent Petitioners price jumped up on Magic Online as well?
I don't know. Thank you for asking, William.
Hi, I'm William.
Samuel.
I do not know about Persistent Petitioners price myself. But I know that Will tried to make a one-ticks deck with Persistent Petitioners.
So I'm not going to lie, I own 40 of them on Magic Online.
I don't think it's going to be working anymore.
I don't know how many I've got in real life.
There's still 0.2 ticks. Sorry, 0.2 ticks.
Really? No way. But yeah, I'm Sam. I'm the Minotaur Man, as I like to be referred to as. And we got a really sweet new Minotaur legendary creature.
I knew you'd talk about this. I just knew it.
We might have to save it for the next one, though, because I want to talk about M21 today.
Are we doing one of these for Jumpstart? Is there enough to talk about?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how many new cards Jumpstart's got in it. I know that there's a lot, and I know a lot of people are very excited for certain ones.
Like, it's got like 500 in it, I'm pretty sure.
I didn't think there were 500.
I thought there was. I thought we discussed this last time.
No, I mean, I didn't think there were 500 reveals. But then again, like, I was checking the updates like every hour, and like every hour I was getting like another 10. So thinking back to it, if I was getting like 100 a day, yeah, that would make sense.
I'm pretty sure about 100 of them are basic lands. Like, pretty sick basic lands, to be fair. But I'm still pretty sure about 100 of them are basic lands.
Mm.
There are some kind of just randomly, there are some real kind of, like, some real strange cards in there that I was looking at and thinking to myself, that's pretty damn cool, all things considered. The fact they're also reprinting a lot of M21 cards into it, so that's got more in it, it's quite good. Bruvac the Grand Eloquent, I think, is the one I'm thinking of, which is the one
mono blue one,
that doubles the mill, who's got one of my favorite flavor texts, which is just "and furthermore."
Also, mill's a keyword now.
That's a weird one. Like,
yeah, I'm so happy.
I'm really glad it's a new keyword. It took up so much space on cards.
So how often have we used that like phrase as opposed to just putting a card in the graveyard? And how much easier is it now where it's just like, I mill you for 3, and everyone now knows what it means?
Do you know what's interesting, actually? Mill's not just used in Magic anymore. Apparently, like, quite a lot of games do the like putting from your deck straight into your discard pile or graveyard or whatever you want to call it, and it's all called mill. Like it, not officially, but basically every single like collectible card game fan base where you put stuff from your library into graveyards calls it mill, and it's all originally from Magic, and they've only just got around to formalizing it.
Who would have thought that the world's most popular tabletop card game would propagate every other card game?
It's just a strange thing to propagate, right? But it makes sense because it doesn't have a word, and mill is such a nice word for describing it.
Quick and simple. I mill you for 3 makes significantly more sense than I need you to put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Por favor.
It's like the ultimate alternate win con. I mean, it's the only alternate win con aside from damage and maybe some win effect. But
I was going to say all the cards that say you win the game if. Like, if you got rid of all those cards, it is the 3rd win con of Magic. Like the 3 win cons essentially being get your opponent down to 0 life, get your opponent up to 10 poison counters, or mill them out. Like, I can't really think of any other other ways you would win.
I almost don't even view poison as like a proper win condition, right? I almost see it as like I see it in the same category as like the you win the game cards, because you have to build your deck around it so much, and it's so specific to. I know poison isn't specific to Phyrexia, new Phyrexia, and all that, but it basically is, right? Like, how many of the old poison counter cards do you actually see play? No, when you see Infect, you see Phyrexian ones. So I kind of almost see that as the same way as like the you win the game cards.
The answer for me is 1. And it's that 1 poison sliver that I run in Commander because I'm the bad guy.
Okay, yeah, no, that's legit. I can accept that. Yeah, that's fair.
Like I've never built I'd never built an Infect Commander deck, but having 1 slither that can give all my slivers poisonous, I think I can just about get away with.
Are you telling me you wouldn't build Skithiryx?
No, because I played against Skithiryx in Commander and it wasn't fun.
It wasn't.
Okay.
This is on the same level of not fun as Derevi. I'm looking at you.
Derevi's so much fun.
Mister, what do you mean? It's perfectly legitimate to play Winterzorb and Derevi in one-on-one Commander. I'm just not going to tell you it's banned.
I did not realize it was banned at that point. I'd like to point out.
There's a lot of to be fair. There's a lot of cards that are banned in the one-on-one Commander format that I didn't realize were banned in one-on-one Commander.
That's because I think barely anybody actually plays one-on-one Commander, like the MTGO one-on-one Commander. I know, is it French Dual Commander or something? Like there is like an actual Comp-Rel EDH setup that uses like a different ban list.
Absolutely.
I think it's French Dual Commander, or it might just be Dual Commander.
I've absolutely no idea. Well, I will say that to preface this whole kind of conversation, we are going to be talking about M21 today and the cards for our picks from M21. There is one thing I want to quickly mention when it comes down to it, because Sam, you're the resident Commander player. I hear there's been a real big rules change in Commander recently.
Yes, there was. The change being that now death rattle effects, or when your commander dies effects, now work in EDH. So if your commander has when this creature dies, do X, you no longer have to put it into your graveyard and it stays there for the rest of the game. You can now put it into your graveyard and then put it into your command zone. I'm not entirely sure what the exact wording on that is for the rule, but it means that stuff like Elenda the Dusk Rose works really well.
So I'm pretty sure Okay, I'm just going to look this up now, because I'm pretty sure it's a trigger.
Can I be honest with everyone? I didn't realize this was a rule, and I've just been playing. When your commander dies, the die trigger happens, and it goes to the command zone for like 5 years.
So it didn't used to die because it was a replacement effect. Basically, like commanders, you always had a choice, right? You basically because it was a replacement effect that you could always put on because of like it had the commander. It has like some secret text with commander written on it, and one of them is basically whenever it moves zone from the battlefield, or whenever it moved zone. In fact, actually.
You get to pick where it goes.
Yeah, and that was a replacement effect. Okay, yes. So just to qualify how it works then for you, Sam, it's a triggered ability now instead of a replacement effect. So when a commander moves zone, specifically when it dies or goes to exile, a triggered ability is put on the stack, and when it resolves, it moves to the command zone. So that means there is actually time periods when it's in a graveyard. So obviously it would move to the graveyard, state-based actions would be checked, a triggered ability would be put on the stack, and when it resolves, you choose to put it into the command zone or not.
It's like how tokens work.
No.
I thought tokens went to the graveyard and then got exiled immediately.
Yes, but it's not a triggered ability that gets rid of them. It's a state-based action that gets rid of them.
Nice, but yeah, it's big for commanders that rely on when this creature dies, do a thing. Like there was a really cool commander, Jared Weatherlight Captain, I think it's called. No, Jared of the Weatherlight. Blue, no, not blue. Red, white. When it dies, put all creatures and artifacts that left the battlefield this turn back onto the battlefield. It was a really cool commander. No one built him because no one likes putting your commander into your graveyard and then never seeing it again. So it's big. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's huge.
Child of Alara is one that I've seen a lot of people suddenly going, "Ooh, hello!"
Oh, yeah,
yeah, this works now.
Five color commanders have now been blown wide open, quite literally and figuratively.
Do you like to play mono board wipes?
I'm pretty sure monoboard, like just have an enchantment which gives it like that gives it haste, and then just play monoboard wipes. Like just all creatures have haste. Sacrifice a creature, do a thing. Just continuously play Child of Alara and just keep going.
So can I just point out two things quickly before we move on? So this is not specifically from the battlefield. So if your commander is somehow in your hand and you're forced to discard him, the trigger will still go on the stack. And if they say your commander is in your graveyard and your graveyard gets exiled, the trigger will also still go on the stack. So that's all fine. However, if it gets shuffled into your library from anywhere, or if it gets put into your hand, that's still a replacement effect. So it still goes to the graveyard. It still goes to the command zone without a trigger. So if you happen to be a monster and you like playing stifle effects like I do, you can't stop it going to from hand to command zone. However, it's only if the commander was put in the graveyard or exile since the last time state-based actions were checked. So if your commander goes to graveyard, you put the trigger on the stack, and then I play a stifle effect, your commander is indeed stuck in the graveyard.
We would like to welcome back all of the slightly unknowing Magic players who have just skipped the last 2 minutes.
I do apologize.
Is it bad that during that explanation, even my brain went, hang on a minute, wait, state-based action, stifle, and even I was starting to get confused. and I'm like, I'm the host of a Magic-based podcast, and I'm not keeping up. At this point, like, when we eventually run out of ideas, we are just going to make a 2-hour podcast where Will sits me and Sam down and tries to explain banding to us. And it's going to be awful.
Fun fact, I don't understand banding. I've never tried. And
get researching, level 1 boy.
They've got a bit of a habit of bringing back old mechanics. And like with phasing recently for some strange reason, and it's like
phasing makes sense.
Please don't bring back banding. I don't want to do that.
Speaking of phasing, have they said whether or not the new Tethers you can activate it once during your turn and once during your opponent's turn. Have they confirmed that yet?
Yes, that is precisely what happens.
Okay.
For example, I was playing against it on Arena, and it's not that good.
So when it comes down to M21 has released on Arena and online, following a series of bans in the standard meta and a big shake-up, and I have prepared a little poem, which I've called an ode to a standard gone. This is the point where the last post starts to play in the background very softly.
Okay, put it in there, editing queue.
The community at large beg to thee. Simic needs buffing, this is for all to see. A new card here, a new mechanic there. But with this, a problematic standard was in the air. 2 years later, and here we are, ban lists galore, wide-reaching and far. And yet with this, it is plain to see, some decks died for the sins of thee. To Planeswalker fires, big threats every turn, a 6-drop Garruk for which I yearned, died for the sins of the Jeskai one, 3-drop to Fairy, the definition of unfun. To Gruder, companion, though lack of grammar, a rules change, an effective ban hammer. For Lurus, 2 drops, a broken meta, you died so modern could feel a little better. To Simic mid-range, you were the bad guy. Uro, Thassa, a Crassus that flies, but agent of treachery, you were too much. Cheat out, turn 4, truly out of touch. So here we are, after a decimation, a standard attempt at emancipation, and although I should be happy with creativeness switched on, I can't help but feel sad for the standard now gone.
Okay.
I wrote that in like 20 minutes.
Okay,
that was fantastic.
That was genuinely really good. I'm very impressed.
This really random fact about me. I'm actually an award-winning poet. Like, that's not even a joke. I am actively an award-winning poet.
Okay, I'm impressed. You're now going to write poetry for all these episodes.
Yeah, I was an 11-year-old, but like I am an award-winning poet. Now, with that poem, I'll preface the 3 decks that I'm mentioning within that poem are my 3 standard decks that all basically got banned out of the standard meta a couple of weeks ago, which was both depressing and also gave me an opportunity to do some brewing, because Gruder, like it said, effectively got banned when they decided that Lurus was too much, and so we need to change the whole companion system. My Simic mid-range deck has had a real big shake-up because Agent of Treachery is just gone now, and it's probably the deck that survived the best because I've just replaced it with Titan Apes, which turns out it's still fine.
I thought the accepted thing to do was to replace it with, well, not necessarily the accepted thing, but like you have been given plenty of toys to ramp into.
Absolutely. I'm probably going to replace it with Ugin, all things considered, which is a bigger problem as it turns out. And the final one was my Planeswalker Fires deck, which was essentially just giant Planeswalkers that I liked to play using Fires of Invention. But it turns out Jeskai ruins everything. So here we are. You could have just banned Tiny Teffers and it would have been fine, but no, you had to.
I don't think it would have been. I legit don't think it would have been.
I'm happy that the bans happened because I think they're good things, but it's just I'm a little bit sad that I don't get to play the decks I was really having fun with. like Gruder was the most fun I had in standard for a long while, and now it's just not even. I just can't. It's like I could pay 3 mana at some point to put it in my hand, but it's just it's too slow now. Like it's just too slow.
You can always play it in Brawl.
Please don't make me play Brawl again. I don't want to think about Brawl. Should we get into it then? Should we get into our...
Let's go into what we're actually meant to be talking about.
Our picks for M21, which for some reason includes 2 common cards, which I would like to say I'm both proud of you 2 and disappointed. Like a father who has recently found out that their child has won an award in illegal drag racing. It's like, well done, but why? So who would like to begin? Who would like to present their first of their cards?
I'm quite excited by Will's actually, so I'm happy.
You're excited by mine? Okay.
I'm excited by Will's, yeah.
So I can't help but see by looking at the chat that we used to organise this that all three of us have broken the rules that we originally laid down.
I would like to point out that I was going to pick between my two, and then Sam just slammed 2 cards in the chat, and so this is his fault this time. I know that I broke the rule with the Titans like 2 sets ago, but at the end of the day, I'm now innocent.
Okay, so my first one was originally an honourable mention, but like I'll expand it a little bit then. So, my first card that I really, really wanted to talk about that was originally going to be my honourable mention was Frantic Inventory. So Frantic Inventory is a 2-mana instant, 1 and a blue. It says draw a card. Then draw a card equal to the number of cards named Frantic Inventory in your graveyard. It's common. So I wanted to talk about this because it's actually very reminiscent of designs of other cards, most specifically Accumulated Knowledge, which is this, but you draw cards for it's in all graveyards, not just your own. And Accumulated Knowledge is interesting because it is, or at least it used to be before Legacy kind of got a bit messed up. It used to be played in Legacy Miracles. Because it's such a powerful draw spell. Because the first one sucks because you draw 1 card, but then when you draw your second one, 2 mana draw 2 cards is pretty good, and then 2 mana draw 3 cards is pretty good.
Well.
Yeah, at instant speed. Like if this was so, there was actually a sorcery speed variation of this in Shadows over Innistrad, I think. I can't remember what it was called, and basically saw no play anywhere. But the instant speed means it's basically pretty playable, and I'm excited about this. Obviously, it's not going to see play in Legacy, but I'm excited about this in both Modern and Pioneer, and like Standard to a lesser extent.
It's a great card for late game, isn't it? It's a really good card for when you're in the late game and you really need that little boost of card draw, and you've already played this once or twice, and it's just a nice little refill for quite low mana. So you play it, you get some cards, and you've got the mana to then do other stuff quite easily.
So I think this has a home in obviously control decks, right? And
no, the deck that wants to hit turn 15 likes the long-winded draw spell. Color me shocked.
So there's always been a bit of a conflict in Modern about what draw spells you should be playing in kind of blue-white or blue-red or Jeskai or control decks just in general, or Esper and stuff like that.
And
so the pretty universal opposite. You normally want to play between kind of 6 and 8 1-mana draw spells. And the universal used to be that you played a playset of Opt and used to play a playset of, or some number of Serum Visions. And then Omen of the Sea came out, and suddenly, like, the 2-mana flash, basically 2-mana instant speed with upside. So it turns out that, like, instant speed preordain is good even if it's like 1 more mana. Because you can play, you want to keep as much mana untapped for as long as possible. And basically, if they did something on turn 2 that you don't care about, you can just flash that in. And this kind of has the same energy, right? Of like, you did something on turn 2 that I don't care about. I can just pay 2 mana and draw a card. And then any other hits of this I get later on are just hot their card advantage, right? So I think like the Omen of the Sea became very popular with Yorion because obviously you could flicker it. And it was kind of the same idea. Yeah, you could flicker it with Yorion basically. So, but even like without Yorion, it's still pretty good to play it. So I think this will be replacing Omen of the Sea in some control builds, and I'm certainly excited to try it out.
It's one where you need to play. I'd argue you need to play 3 or 4 of them to make them worth it.
You need to play 4 of them.
You probably need to play the 4 of them. Like
you need to play 4 of.
Yeah, and there are going to be some games where it does very little because they're all going to be sandbagging at the bottom of your deck. You're going to get it once and it's just going to feel like a worse opt. But there's going to be some games where you need that clutch play and you're going to draw into your 3rd or 4th Frantic Inventory and it's just going to feel good. It's just going to feel like a refuel.
I can see control mirrors in Modern becoming who drew more frantic inventories. I can very easily see that. And as for like Pioneer and Standard, like in Standard, you already play Radical Idea, which is basically this, but without the second clause and with Jumpstart. So I'm not sure this is better than Radical Idea, because you have like obviously you have the opportunity to get more like prowess triggers off Radical Idea, and it kind of it almost filters you the second time round. But this is straight card advantage, so I think in like some standard decks this could also be hot to see play.
If you draw all 4 of both, Frantic Inventory will net you 1 extra card. Like all things considered, 1, then 2 to make 3, then another 3 to make 6, then 4 up to make 10. Oh, it next you 2 more cards.
No, it doesn't.
Because
no, it doesn't. It nets you a bunch more cards because you have to discard with the Jumpstart, right? Like
true.
If I'm going 1 for 1. I see the same number of cards, but I get more card advantage.
Yeah, okay,
right?
fair
I don't, because I don't have to discard the card from my hand.
I get that. Fair point, well made.
Yeah, but like I don't know. Like I think it's cool. I'm happy to have like actual card advantage at 2 mana for once.
It's very interesting to kind of note here, viewers, listeners, that we've got our chats on our messenger, and during spoilers Will posted a link to this card and went, is this Modern playable? And without even clicking on the card, I just went, it's a blue draw spell. It's just a blue draw spell. I just knew it was going to be, and I clicked and I was like, yep, there it is. And then when we were discussing which cards we were doing, the exact phrasing Will used was, would it be boring if I brought a common? I said, not really, you do you. He then went, can you guess which one? And I responded with, is it Frantic Inventory?
Okay, I'm boring. I like drawing cards. Okay,
it's just, Will, you are so obvious sometimes. It's one of your best traits, honestly. It's one of your best traits.
Yeah, but okay. So the other card I want to talk about, which is arguably the much more interesting one, really, is Conspicuous Snoop, and I'm gonna get that name wrong.
That is actively the most terrifying card art for any card I've seen in years.
Yeah. I think the card art is adorable, quite frankly. I think it's genuinely funny.
I am terrified of that goblin because you know for a fact he is scoping that place out to like rob or kill you later. Like the fact that person's having to hide around the corner is like that thing's gonna kill me.
See, in my mind, he's just like leaning in because he wants to watch what you've got on the TV. Like, what are you watching, guys?
And then invite all of his goblin friends to watch you watch. I don't know, whatever TV's currently on at the moment.
He's gonna watch, and then invite his infinite mates of his to come and watch Scrubs with him.
Kiki Jiki just coming around the corner.
What does it do then?
Okay, so Conspicuous Snoop is a double red goblin card. It's a 2/2. It's a goblin rogue. So it says, play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast goblin spells from the top of your library. So this is already like a what's it called? Future Sight type, experimental frenzy type vibe going on. But the last line of text is what's actually very exciting. And that says, as long as the top card of your library is a goblin card, Conspicuous Snoop has all activated abilities of that card. So basically, if you flip a top card of your library and it is a Mog Fanatic, which says sacrifice Mog Fanatic, deal 1 damage to any target, you can sacrifice Conspicuous Snoop to itself and deal 1 damage to any target. That's kind of the idea. It's exciting because it's a new combo for Legacy and Modern that fits right into a deck that already exists. So that is the kind of mid-range control goblin shell rather than the 8-whack shell. So this is the Rakdos goblin control thing that.
Now, I don't know whether or not you're avoiding talking about it because you're going to talk about it in a minute, or because you've missed it. Because I've not heard about that version of it. The version I've heard is the infinite Kiki Jiki.
Yes, that's the combo. That's the combo. It turns out you can just slot that straight into the deck that already exists.
Because the whole idea is that if Kiki Jiki's on top, you just tap the Conspicuous Snoop to make a copy of Conspicuous Snoop. Repeat that, and you basically have all of those. And then all you need is some ability to then make it a Mog Fanatic on top, and then you just start sacking.
So I've just got the combo up here. So the combo is actually very simple. So you begin on turn 2 by playing a Conspicuous Snoop. Then on turn 3, you play a Bogart Harbinger. So a Bogart Harbinger is 2 and a black for a 2/1 Goblin Shaman, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a Goblin card, reveal it, and put it on top of your library. Oh, shuffle it, then put it on top of your library. It's the old Enlightened Tutor, Vampiric Tutor effect. So if I play a Bogart Harbinger on turn 3, I can put something on top of my deck, and Suspicious Snoop will get all of its abilities.
You go and get Kiki, right?
You go and get Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker, yes. So that's a legendary creature, and the important part is it has an activated ability that says tap, put a creature token into play that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. That creature gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the end step. So what you do is you start tapping your Conspicuous Snoops to copy themselves. Notably, you can't do this with Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker because it itself is legendary, so it can't copy itself. But because Conspicuous Snoop isn't legendary, it can copy itself. So you get effectively an infinite number of tapped Conspicuous Snoops. Then what you do is the last Conspicuous Snoop will be untapped. So you tap that, you copy Bogart's Harbinger, and shuffle away Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker and put a Sling Gang Lieutenant on there, on top of your library. So this is I was about to say it's a new card, but I don't think
it's
Modern Horizons is new.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a year old now at this point. But the whole point about that is sack a goblin, drain 1, right?
Yeah. So Sling Gang Lieutenant has an ability which says sacrifice a goblin, target player loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. And rather handily, you've just gained an infinite number of Conspicuous Snoops. So you can sack them all and kill your opponent, basically. So that's a turn 3 combo kill.
Is this Legacy? Because Bogart is that only in Legacy, or is that also a modern thing?
It's from Lorwyn. It's in Modern as well.
Okay, so it's a Modern and it's a Legacy combo deck.
Yeah. So there was already a Rakdos Goblins deck in Modern. It was very cool. It was like a grindy, control-y type things. It used munitions experts and Sling Gang Lieutenants to try and knuckle and dime you out of there. It was very cool, and then try to end the game with Goblin Pile Driver and stuff. It's actually a very cool deck. But it turns out, because this just happens to be the right colors and stuff, and some of those decks already played a Kiki Jiki anyway. Or it was in a flex, so you either play Kiki Jiki or you played what's the goblin from Ravnica? The goblin legend.
If you hadn't have asked me.
Krenko.
Yeah.
Sometimes play Krenko. So it has some flex socks. And you're already kind of playing Bogart Harbingers and the antis and stuff like that. So it kind of slips into there. Same thing for Legacy Goblins. I don't know if they were playing black before, but trying to get a Legacy deck to play a new color is not that difficult. So it could just be it was already a very good kind of grindy control deck. It just happens now to have a really cool combo finish.
It potentially also makes Modern Goblins actually viable, because Modern Goblins has always been one of those decks that floats around but never really got anywhere. It's very weird that it managed to get places in Legacy because of certain extra cards that Legacy had on it, in Lackey pretty much. But then this might be the card which pushes Goblins higher up a few tier lists and kind of starts making it seem play in Modern, which I'm actually really up for, because when it comes down to Modern, I'm so happy whenever a new deck happens because it means the format expands and I get to spend more time playing different decks. Because you get to a point with a format, and I think this happens, like, the longer a format exists, the more this happens, where there are certain decks that are just omnipresent and you can eventually just get quite bored of playing against them. Like, I'm at the point now where I'm not really, like, when someone turns up and goes, I'm playing Tron, or I'm playing Scape Shift, or I'm playing Jund. Like, I don't think to myself, oh, this will be a good game. I kind of think to myself, oh, this again. Like, and I know I have Jund, and I know I play Jund, so I'm kind of propagating the problem. But it's not really even a problem. It's just kind of, makes the formats a little slower than kind of what you'd feel. And suddenly having one card that potentially breathes life into an entirely new deck for the top table is really fun and exciting for me.
Yeah, like, it's a cool deck. I get what you mean. Goblins has always kind of floated around in one form or another. Obviously, there's always been like 8-Whack, but this is a very different, distinct deck from that. And it turns out that just like a deck, the problem with Goblins always kind of had was it suffered against like the unfair decks.
Yeah.
So I was listening to Saffron Oliver talk about it. He was basically saying like he's played Goblins a bunch, but you cannot beat Dredge. It turns out when you have like a turn 3 combo and they can't interact with you, you can beat Dredge, and you can beat like Storm and stuff like that because they just can't interact with you properly. So it's almost like Splinter Twin. I know I hate that phrase, like it's basically Splinter Twin, but kind of it's serving the same form that Splinter Twin had.
It's Splinter Twin, but with guns.
Yeah, basically. Because like Splinter Twin was basically, it preyed on you if you couldn't interact with the deck. It was a control deck, so it could deal with the fair decks. And then when it was an unfair deck, it's like, if you're not going to interact with me, I'm just going to kill you on turn 4. Because it's going to happen. And this is the same thing. It's like, this is like, oh, are you going to... You either like, because like it's a really easy combo to disrupt. I'm going to be honest with you.
Can you kill the Snoop? Like, can you kill the Snoop, or can you kill the Bogart?
Yeah,
the combo.
Can you point a lightning bolt on one of those two? Like, and this is not a deck that has a lot of protection in it. It's a red-black deck.
Don't get like protection. I'm going to say it's not like it's playing that one mono red counter spell that they placed in the new set. No, they haven't.
But it's like then. Okay. Then I still have this like red-black grindy goblins deck. Let's go.
It's still a nice little aggro deck that works quite well.
It's not even an aggro deck, to be honest with you. It's more of a control deck. Like, you're trying to kill things with like sling down lieutenants and not sling down lieutenants. You're trying to kill things with like the munitions experts and stuff like that, and just trying to get in. Like, it's a control deck, if anything else, because it's playing Ether Vial. Like, it's a cool deck. It's really, really, really cool, and I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited that it's got a new toy.
Yeah, they've been printing goblins in sets for a while now, haven't they? They put some back in Core 20.
I think the goblins are just one of those creature types that just sees every single set. Like, you think back to every single set we've had for over the past 2, 3, 4 years, and every single one of them has a goblin. Like, they just do. Like it's just a very kind of omnipresent archetype. It's like you always have a dragon, you've always got a Hydra. I think you always have a goblin. Like, it just depends whether or not the goblins are rare or just a common or something along those lines.
It's a really popular tribe. Obviously, like they go in lots of stuff. So like you can either do something like the Skirt Prospector thing, which is more of a combo thing, or you can go aggro, or you can go a bit bigger. It's just a really versatile tribe, quite frankly, and I think Wizards of the Coast like them because we like them, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
they're not broken. They're not a tribe that they're not a tribe that you, by printing into it, you're going to end up breaking the format. You're just going to make a tribe more fun. It's like printing more angels. It's like the tribe people like, and by printing more angels, we're just going to give more people more things they like, rather than something like Eldrazi would be one of those ones where it's like, we're going to print more Eldrazi. That would break it. Like, that would be a problem. There's a reason why Jumpstart doesn't have an Eldrazi deck.
Yes. So at this point, I basically don't really have that much more to say about it, because like it's a cool card. It's interesting. Yada yada yada. I want to throw this to Sam right now because I'm looking at his picks. I'm
confused.
I'm really curious. I'm really confused personally.
I'm confused as to what's happened to Sam.
Because one of them I get and one of them I don't.
Yeah.
Let's start with the controversial one then.
Yes. You go ahead, mate. You go ahead.
All right. Let me tell you about a small card that I really like called Alchemist's Gift. It's 1 black for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains your choice of Death Touch or Lifelink until end of turn.
Why have you picked a 1-drop black combat spell? Like,
Sam,
I really want to know. I'm so confused.
As I said to you earlier, I get it. I would 10th pick this in a draft.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Yeah, I would use this to get rid of my opponent's bomb creature with my 1-drop. Like this would be great at one point. So why have you picked it out of everything else?
Please explain.
So the reason why I like this card so much is because it's so flexible for 1 mana in EDH. So let's suppose that one of your opponents has a big creature that they're using to dominate the board. They swing into one of your opponents, or they swing into you, and they block. They chump block with a 1/1. You give it Death Touch, the big thing dies.
Oh, it's not you control.
No, it's just anything. Or let's say your opponent's swinging that big creature at you, and it's got, I don't know, protection from all your creatures. It hits you, you're down to a low life total. You've also got a big creature. You swing in back at them, you give it Lifelink. I just love it. It's so flexible. Or one of your friends is about to go down and you give one of their creatures Lifelink and keep them in the game. I really like this card. I just think it's so flexible.
It's a lot for 1 mana. Like, I'll give it that, definitely.
Like in the grand scheme of like combat tricks, it's a fine combat trick. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
I do like that. Even though you've explained it, like, me and Will are still like, but why though?
Okay. Sam. Okay, but here's a better question. Where are you excited to play this in Commander and Sam? What command do you have in mind when you see this card?
Well, no commander in specific, just anything that has black in it, really.
Okay, so automatic black staple here.
I'm not talking black staple. I mean, it doesn't have to be a black staple. I just think it's a nice card that you sometimes put into a black deck if you're looking for, I don't know, a cheap thing that has some utility.
I think what me and you are doing is I think me and you are doing the same thing in that our commander decks are pretty much designed almost entirely around the thing we're planning for our commander deck to do. So like with my Locust God deck, for example, my Locust God deck is lands, mana rocks, and then cards to do things with the Locust God. Like, no, I don't have any other cards in that deck that are like one-off random pieces that are a little bit fun and fancy to deal with the board state, with the exception of one. Damn, I've completely forgotten the name of it. Cyclonic Rift. With one Cyclonic Rift. And I think, Will, you're kind of the same in that pretty much all your cards in your commander decks are built around doing the thing that commander deck is designed to do. I think what we're missing here, and I think what Sam's cordoned onto, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, is this is just a really good 1-drop card that takes up a slot in your deck, but is versatile without really detracting from what your deck's trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can see that. I tell you what I can see it being, actually. I do get what you mean, right? It is a very versatile card, and the ability to give something either lifelink or death touch is not to be sniffed at, right? Like, it can, if you need a big swing and you suddenly need to gain 8 or something to pass for the next 7, that's fair. Tell you what I can see being fun with this. Because it's any person's creature, you can politic the hell out of this. Like, you go into, like the big bad's ignored you, right? And he's swung at like Tim with his like tokens. And you go, hey Tim, Tim. How about I give one of them Death Touch? You know, yeah. Get rid of his Eldrazi. You know what? Yeah, get rid of his whatever insert big Eldrazi here.
Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger.
Yeah.
No, it's indestructible.
Isn't that indestructible?
Damn on all of you. I've done it. I've beaten the Alchemist GIF. I've done it. I'm the bad guy.
Okay, that's fair.
But just I mean, think about Galto or something like that. Granted, it's got trample, but just doesn't that just make you happy? The idea of a 12,
I mean, you know how Death Touch and Trample work, right?
Yeah. So it still tramples over, right?
Yeah, it tramples over all of it. Sorry, not all of it by one.
Yeah. But you still kill Galto with a.
I was going to say I'd still rather get rid of Galto.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant you were casting this on Galto.
No. You're casting this on your friendly neighborhood mono white token player.
Your friendly neighborhood 1/1 soldier.
Exactly.
I mean, you might have convinced me. Actually, I kind of want to cast this on Galto.
I think, because I think, Will. Like I said, I think me and you have gotten in our heads that you build a commander deck by building that commander. Whereas I think Sam, he's more experienced in EDH than we are at this point, and I think he probably is right in just thinking this is just a good one drop that just has a lot of versatility.
Well, yeah,
I think we've gotten jaded. I think we've just got to the point where we just want to turn up and win, and we don't want to have fun anymore. I just turn up with Sliverness, and it's like, what cards have you got in here that aren't the Slivers? And I'm like, what aren't Slivers? And I just swing in. Like, my entire life has just become building around a commander and forgetting that staples exist. Like, I was watching loads of videos about these are the cards to play in Commander. I even watched one that was like, these are the power 9 cards in Commander if Commander had a power 9. I was watching them and I was like, oh my word, I played 2 of them and that's it. Like, the rest of them I just ignore, and I own a lot of them, but it's like, okay, I play Smothering Tithe and I play
Study.
I've forgotten its name again.
Cyclonic Rift.
That's the one. Why have I done that twice? And yet the rest of the time, the rest of them, it's like, I own that. Why aren't you playing it then? Because it doesn't go with the Locust Gods theme. Because I need to draw more cards.
I am genuinely curious now. If I picked a random common from a random set and brought it to one of these things, could I convince you guys that it should be in your commander decks?
Oh, you haven't convinced me it's going to be in my commander deck, but I can
no, I'm not playing this. No.
But there's a difference between going, I understand why you've put it here, and going, yeah, I'll put this in my deck. No, you can keep this thing away from me. If you try and sneak this into Slivers, I will slap your hand away.
The next time we play EDH, I'm going to have this card.
And
it is going to put in work.
No, it's not. It's going to get countered by your second pick.
Oh, boy.
I'd say that's laughs in force of will.
Yeah, literally. But no, in all seriousness, having 1-cost cards in your commander deck is very important, especially ones that have utility. Which is why I like the second card so much. So, second card, I'm a bit more serious about. It's 1 blue for a card called Miscast. Counter target instant or sorcery spell unless its controller pays 3.
Okay, so now we're talking.
Now we're talking, right?
Now we're talking.
I really like this.
I hate it already.
There's a card that came out in Ixalan that was Spell Pierce.
Joke's on you, I don't play instants and sorceries.
Okay, Sam. We need to have a history lesson here. Spell Pierce didn't come out in Ixalan, it came out in Zendikar.
I don't mind.
There was a card called Spell Pass. Spell Pass is the number 1 used. To be fair, Spell Pierce is the 3rd most played
staple
spell in all of Magic. I think
that doesn't sound right, but it's certainly an important counter spell.
I think the number 1 is it's just counter target instant or sorcery. No, sorry, target counter non-creature spell. Yeah, no, dispel. Negate. Negate's the number 1. Anyway, do continue.
Anyway, Sam, go on.
Anyway. So, why not play Negate over this card? Well, I think it's interesting.
Sorcery?
Huh?
It includes sorcery, right? Negate's only instance.
So, no, negate is
negate
is sorcery.
Non-creature? Negate's non-creature.
Okay.
Oh, right. What am I thinking of?
Okay. Let's everybody settle down. The card you're thinking of, Hugh, is Dispel.
Right, yeah.
Target instant. Negate is counter-target non-creature spell, but it's 2 mana. And Spell Pierce is 1 mana. It's counter non-creature spell unless the opponent pays 2. Are we all clear about counter spells?
You're right, Will. They should print less counter spells into Magic. Go on.
Print counter spell into Modern, you fools.
No, they should. Even I think you should, and I hate counter spells. Sam, do continue.
Anyway, the reason why I like this card so much is because if you compare it to Spell Pierce, most of the time with Spell Pierce, you're targeting an instant or a sorcery. I think the only other things you can counter are planeswalkers or enchantments.
Artifacts,
yeah. They're much less common than instants and sorceries, and the difference between 2 mana and 3 mana is really big in Commander. That's what makes me like this card so much.
Leave a single blue open and laugh whenever someone tries to play their Haymaker instant.
Tries to play their removal spell on your combo piece or something like that.
Do you really think that instants and sorceries are more, or in your opinion, do you really think that instants and sorceries are more common than artifacts in Commander?
Well, fair point. Maybe more common is the wrong word. Maybe this more protects your stuff better than Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So, for example, in Sig River Guide that everybody knows and loves,
stop comboing off in 1-tick Commander, you fool.
You combo off. And, of course, if people play removal, they try and get rid of all your lovely fish. People often have 2 mana up more than they have 3 mana up. 3 mana is a really big leap up from 2 mana.
So this is going to suffer from... I'm a big fan of the tax kind of counter spells. So, but it's going to suffer from the same thing that like Spell Pierce suffers from, and Mana Leak.
Drain, or not Mana Drain.
Mana Leak. Mana Drain is the very good one.
I'm just going to shut up about counter spells because I'm just making a fool of myself.
So I don't know if people are more prone to tapping out Commander or not, but I'm personally excited for this in kind of Modern Pioneer. Again, shockingly. Because it is like, it's essentially best viewed as a more versatile Dispel or a less versatile Spell Pierce, right? And Spell Pierce is really good, right? It's main deckable. Like, I main deck Spell Pierces. I normally main deck 1 or 2. And Dispel's like a solid sideboard card for against combo and stuff like that. So this is kind of fighting for those 2 slots, in my opinion. I don't think it replaces Negate. And I don't even think it really replaces Spell Pierce in like constructed formats, because being able to hit Planeswalkers is so huge, and like it can buy you those crucial turns, kind of between turn 4 and turn 6. I can see what you're saying about like there's so many big swingy instants and sorceries in Commander, isn't there? Like this can get a Warp World or something, or a in Garrick's Wake, or something like that, and just kind of like those big like splashy plays where people like tap out, slam this, and you're like, no.
But it doesn't even need to hit those things. Like even just Heartless Act on your whatever at instant speed. You know, people only usually keep up 2 mana for their removal spell and nothing more. So this is basically.
So do you think you'll use this as more of a protective spell rather than a disruptive spell, as it were?
I think it can do both. So you can obviously, I think it serves the protection role really well, but I think it also does a really good job of putting your opponents off tempo, which is actually getting more important in Commander as the format gets faster and faster. So let's say your opponent plays something like I think of some kind of important instant or sorcery in the mid game. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I don't know, Rampant Growth,
like
whatever.
A Wrath.
Yeah, Wrath. Sure. Wrath of God. You play Miscast. They have to pay 3 mana. They have 3 more mana open. They tap the 3, whatever. But that means they don't have a tempo play to pay after they've destroyed the whole world, right? which is a really important thing to not be able to do when you're playing with 3 other opponents.
Okay, so I kind of disagree with that. And the reason why I disagree with that is I've been in that situation so many times. Playing a mana leak, which is just like this, but counters anything for 3. Unless they pay 3, sorry. Paying this when they can pay the 3 is bad. It's really, really bad. Because, and I don't know whether it's the same in Commander, but you discarding a card for them to lose a little bit of tempo isn't worth it. It really, really isn't. It certainly isn't in 1v1.
Yeah, I can see it not being worth it in 1v1. I'm happy to throw my hands up and say maybe I'm wrong, but I will definitely try this out, because at worst, you're paying 1 mana to have your opponent waste 3 mana.
But you're not paying just 1 mana, though, are you? You're paying 1 mana and discarding a card.
Okay, and discarding a card. But you're in blue. What the hell? You're playing Ristic Study, right?
Like, I still think it's a legit card. Don't get me wrong. I think this is probably a legit card in Commander. Like, it certainly has more versatility than, like, say, playing a spell. But 1 mana... I would only be casting this if like it was ending what they were doing.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously the ideal case, isn't it? That's where you want to be casting this, and that I think is enough to get this card by.
Or it disrupts their turn so badly that it ruins the next couple of turns. Like if a Storm player was going off, and you could do the internal maths in your head, say, okay, they need exactly 4 mana to. Or they need exactly 5 mana to cast. What's the 5 mana tutor that refunds you 3 mana?
The black one.
Yeah, the black one.
I know the one you're talking about. I can't remember the name. That one.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they need 5 mana to do that, so they can get 3 mana back to combo off and cast Doomsday or something. It's like, okay, I'm going to cast this because it's an effective counter spell there. Because it basically ruins their entire turn.
Yeah, that's a good example. I agree. Thank you for making my card worthwhile.
You're very welcome. I play too much Canadian Highlander.
But yeah, so I'm going to be trying these cards out. I think they're just nice flex spots. They're not going to see play in high level focused EDH. 6, 7. I could see playing 6, but 7, 8, 9, 10. You're never going to see these cards. But anything below that, I think they do so well.
I forgot Spell Swindle was a card. I'm just looking through counter spells now. While you guys were talking, I was just flicking through counter spells. And I'm like, oh yeah, Spell Swindle. That's dumb.
You should have seen it, Will, when he Spell Swindled a Firemind Vessel.
No, I was disappointed. I was holding up a Spell Swindle. I wanted to catch a Reaper King.
Yeah. Oh, and it was just but oh man, that counter on the Firemind Vessel just tore that game to pieces.
Tilted you off the face of the earth.
Anyway, Hugh, do you want to tell us about your cards?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. They're not counter spells. If you're wondering, they're not counter spells. I'm as it turns out, the normal Magic player here, in that I brought a rare and a mythic, as opposed to just going, you know what, commons. That's what we all need, commons.
The poor man's gold.
I haven't brought a common, as it turns out. I was debating which of these two to bring.
You've kind of brought an uncommon.
And I was tempted to bring 9 lives as a because it's the dumbest card. It's got amazing artwork, and also just hand it to an opponent when it's got 1 counter left on it, and it's just like, ha.
Also it might be playable in Modern, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But instead, I decided to bring 2 cards. So first one I decided to bring is Sanctum of All. The reason I was debating this was because I started playing Sanctum of All in Standard recently, because I decided that since all my Standard decks are dead, I should start playing fun ones. And so I built Standard Shrines. So Sanctum of All is a legendary enchantment shrine for 5 colors, and it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or your graveyard for a shrine card and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library, shuffle it. If an ability of a shrine would trigger, if you control 6 or more shrines, that ability triggers an additional time, so it triggers twice. I like this card because it turns out Standard Shrines is really, really dumb and really, really fun. Because it's not good by any stretch of the imagination. But when you get 6 shrines onto the battlefield, and you're draining them for 12 each turn, and you're drawing 12 cards and discarding 2 cards, and it just feels good. It's like, this is my jam. And then occasionally you just get completely run over by mono red because haste is a thing, and it turns out when a deck does very little until turn 4, except for playing kind of very little do nothing enchantments on their own, then they don't work very well. And it's just a fun card. Like, I've not really got much to say about it apart from just I'm enjoying playing it in Standard, and that's why I brought it.
Is this deck just like some of all of the shrines? I'm imagining 2 or 3 of each of the shrines, and then Wraths. Right, Wraths deck.
What I play is I play 3 of each of the shrines. I play a lot of Wraths. I play 4. Is it not great or good? It's the 4 mana Wrath in Standard right now, where
the Shatter the Sky.
Yeah, the Shatter the Sky. That's the one. Don't know why I said great or good.
That is very not a Wrath. Also, not a Standard.
I've been watching too much Hot Fuzz, and I'm also playing Murderous Rider because that doubles both as a kill spell for Planeswalkers in case they're a problem, and it also doubles as life gain.
Okay.
Nice.
In case of any kind of issue, if they've got me down to very low health because they've been throwing lots of creatures at me with small hasters.
It's a super cool card, actually, and like it's very nice to have like the shrines in themselves are almost a bit of a payoff, but it's nice to have like a proper payoff for that deck.
It's nice to be able to play this and then just be able to assemble shrines easily and not just play this and go, well, I might be able to get double shrines, because it would be very, very easy for them to have just made this card shrines trigger twice. Like, not even like a caveat, just effects of shrines trigger twice. Like, would have been very easy. I prefer this design of you get to go and look for them, meaning you get to filter your deck, you get to go look for the shrines, you get to pick the ones you need at each individual point.
You've proved you can cast them, so you get to cast them now.
Yeah, exactly. It works. I like it. It's a nice little Standard deck that feels very different from what I've used to been playing. It's kind of a combo deck, but it's not really a combo deck in the same sense of the word as other combo decks, as the Goblins, for example, that we mentioned earlier.
If there was a deck that was going to pull me into Standard, it would be the Shrine deck.
But go for it. It's fun to play. It's apparently not very fun to play against, because either they get because the exact phrasing I've heard is either you get a nut draw or you sit and do nothing. My response is you haven't built your Shrines deck good enough. Because I'm going about 1-1. I'm going about win a game, lose a game, win a game, lose a game. Like, again, I've got about 50% win rate. That's not great. It's nowhere near good enough to be top of Standard, but it's fun. And that's the point. Every single card that I have liked in M21 is not one that's going to break the meta open. It's ones that I've looked at and gone, that is just fun. Like the Cat and the Dog Commander. That's fun. It's just fun, and I want to play it because it's fun.
Are you at all interested in playing this in Historics? Because there is 5 more shrines in Historic, because there's the original Kamigawa ones.
I was tempted, but that would also require me to play Historic, and that is a problem in and of itself.
Historic's apparently heating up and actually becoming quite a fun format.
Yeah, me and Will had this debate earlier, but my response was, if a format is hard to explain what is actually legal in it, then it's a bit of a problem. And I know I know the response would just be, oh, is it on Arena? Then it's in Historic.
Exactly.
But the problem is you have to literally be going into Arena and going, okay, what are the cards in this anthology? Cards in this anthology? Whereas with stuff like Modern and Standard, you can just be like, which cards are legal in this? And you can just say with Modern, 8th edition onwards. That's it.
And Modern Horizons.
All right, good point, but
like you can argue this point endlessly, right? Like, because it's you can say the same thing about Legacy. I think you're right. It is a very confusing legality, but like I think it's fine. Like if you view deck building as like I open arena and I have a search bar, and actually they've just added a bunch of arena codes into the search bar where you can you can basically treat it like Gather and say it's like I want all the blue cards under CMC2 with draw a card in it. Like you can actually put more specific searches now.
I think the problem I have with Historic is more along the lines of if I'm not on Arena, it is infinitely harder to check if a deck is legal or not than if I was playing Standard or Modern. Because with Standard or Modern, as long as I know what set that card is in, I'm fine. Whereas if I were to try and play Historic in paper, if I see someone playing a random card in the Historic deck, I'd have to go and double check if that card is actually legal. I don't just go, oh, that's from the original Innistrad block, that's fine because that is legal. The issue essentially becomes there that playing this in paper, I admit
nobody's going to play this paper.
I'm completely fair with that. It's a problem I think only I have, and I'm kind of fine with only me having it. I'll be the grumpy old man in the corner. I'm fine with that. That's just that is the life I've just pushed myself into.
The point is that people have fun with it, right? And
yeah,
it's awkward to get into, yeah, but if it's fun, then who really cares?
And Historic damn well better be fun, because Standard sucks at the moment.
No, didn't you hear my poem? They banned all that.
No, Standard still sucks.
They banned the non-fun, Will. It's fine now.
No, because we still have Urion. Not Urion, the
Euro.
stupid Titan. Euro. Salt that card.
My second pick is one that I hope Sam will be pleased with my choice of pick here and my reasoning for picking here. Because my second pick is a pick for Commander. It's not Modern, it's not Standard, it's not Pioneer, it's a Commander pick. And this is a new
Hot
one.
words.
It's a new one for me. It's Fiery Emancipation. 3 triple red for an enchantment. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. Oof. Now, 2 things I love about this. Number 1, it's any source. It's not just red sources. And it would have been so easy just to have gone if a red source would deal damage, like they did with the current do extra damage with red cards of why am I forgetting the names of cards today? I've done this 3 times now.
Jaya.
No.
Torbjorn.
Torbjorn.
Torbran, not Torbjorn. That's a character from Overwatch.
Yeah, it would have been so easy for them to just be like, if a red source you control would deal damage, but they didn't. They said any source, which means that this goes in any EDH deck that has red in it, anyone whatsoever. So I could stick this in Locust God, no problem whatsoever. My Locusts do extra damage. My anything in that deck does extra damage. It's great. I like that idea. Second thing, I'm so used to it deals double damage. We've got lots of creatures that just read, damage is doubled, or you take double damage, or you deal double damage. I've not seen for a while, or maybe even ever, a card that's like double, triple, my lovely. Triple, my lovely. I want to bolt someone for 9 to win the game. And I want to do it 5 minutes ago. I love this card because it just everything they could have done to make this card not as good, they didn't do. They made it every source and it's triple the damage. It's just a fun haymaker of a card that sticks around because it's an enchantment. It's going to be the one that everyone wants to remove, but it's just you play that and you go to town. I love it. I love it.
Okay, hear me out here. Yeah, you say this is for Commander, but have you ever played Big Red?
I play Burn, so that'll probably tell you.
No, that's Little Red. That's Little Red.
That'll probably tell you all you want to know about my attitude towards the red color.
I want to play this in Standard. I want to play it with Mr. Torbjorn Dwarf person. Do you know why?
Is it because you can play the 7-drop flaming dragon that will then proceed to shoot people for 12, 9, 9 and then hit you in the face of 14?
Maybe, but it's actually because I want to cast a shock that deals 12 damage to somebody. Because you get to choose the order in which a replacement effects deals sources. It's so I can choose for me to add 2 damage to my 2 to my damage first and then triple it. So I want to play ramp, then I want to play big red things, and also yes, you do just play big dumb dragons. That's how big red works. It's not a very clever deck.
Big Red's Outback Steakhouse, as I'm now expressing the deck.
Exactly. It is. Yes. This is the type of deck that plays Worldfire. Stuff. It's not a clever deck.
I previously talked about my Shrine deck. I'd like to point out that my deck is Shrine Tribal, or as I've coined it, Shribal. So if anyone else uses the phrase Shribal, you have got a lawsuit coming.
Please put Warp. I suppose you can't put Warp World in Standard.
Warp World in Standard.
If this deck gets built in...
I just like the ability to triple damage. I just like tripling damage.
It's just gratuitous.
Yeah,
right?
It's win
completely unnecessary.
Love it.
It's funny that you use that word, because there was an enchantment for 1 less red that doubled all damage your creatures do, and this is 1 more mana. Gratuitous violence.
It is gratuitous violence.
And this is 1 more mana.
This is the equivalent of having a shotgun with incendiary shells. The shotgun was already going to kill the person. Why do you also need to set them on fire?
I don't think it's that. It's a shotgun that shoots little shotguns that shoots incendiary shells.
Yes, there we go. If it was just leveling damage, it would have been the incendiaries. It's just a card that I want to play in Commander. Every single one of my red ones is going to play this. Every single one. Even Slithers will play this.
Do you know what would be fun? You should play this in Perforos.
Oh, yes, you should.
With impact tremors and stuff.
Yes, I should.
Well, where I was thinking you should put this in Mogus.
The most metal deck.
Double and triple. Does that mean that it's not 5 times because you double it, but then you triple that double? So you're doing it 6. So it's a 6 times.
I think so, yes.
That is just gratuitous. That is just gratuitous damage. That is the equivalent. That is literally going, I'm going to bowl you. Okay, I'm going to take 3 damage. No. No. You take 18. What do you mean I take 18? You take 18. Wait, what? Yes, this is how this works now. I'm your father now. Now you call me daddy.
Oh, God.
And on that weird note, we're going to end it. Thank you ever so much for listening. I noticed that every other time I've said thank you very much for watching, and it's a verbal podcast. So
I do sit and watch these. I love the animations.
I've only ever done 1 animation,
and I loved it.
He just watches it on repeat.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. We're still stuck inside. I say the foreseeable future. We technically got a date where we might be out of it, but who knows at this point. But I will continue to say to stay sane, stay safe. Thank you for listening, and good night, everybody.
Night.
Bye.